was to take a look at it. Take a look at his flight logs. His flight logs from 2021, senators are reimbursed for their travel when they travel, quote unquote, home.
Right.
Well, in 2021, Tuberville ran for the U.S. Senate, and he said he moved back to Alabama after publicly admitting on TV that he moved to Florida, retired in Florida, and then he said he moved back to Alabama to run for the U.S. Senate. Now, the rules for U.S. Senate are completely different than the rules for running for governor. All you have to do is live in Alabama for one day. He said he moved back to Alabama in 2019. In 2021, when he was elected, and like I said, the U.S. government, the Senate, reimburses you for your travel flights home. He took 9 flights. All 9 flights were to Florida.
Right.
I mean, it's like, wait a minute. And then I just ran a Carfax on him.
So does he like to fly to Florida and then drive back up to Alabama? Is that the question?
I mean, it's so bogus.
I wouldn't do that.
No. And then I ran a Carfax on his truck, and I ran a Carfax on my truck. In 2024, his truck was serviced 4 times. All 4 times were in Destin, Florida.
Right.
My truck was serviced 4 times in 2024, and there's just regular oil changes or whatever, same as says. They're all in and around Birmingham, where I live.
Right.
In 2025, and that's when he announced he was going to run for governor, he had 3 services on his truck. Those were all in Auburn. That's when he moved back to Alabama. You look at 2025, mine didn't change. Mine were still in and around Birmingham.
Right.
And then I challenged the Republican Party. They did not ask, and it's so bogus. The form they give you, it says this is your challenge form, and attach a letter, and that says optional if you want to attach any attachments, which is the evidence you have against him. And I mentioned in the letter what it was. And they're saying is, I didn't attach any evidence to it. And this is a guy named Riley who's on the steering committee. He was on a podcast, and he said, well, the reason we rejected Mr. Ken McFeeters' challenge is because he didn't add any evidence, so we just decided not to look at it.
Right.
They just decided not to look at it. And then if you listen to the the attorneys from the ALGOP, they're saying, well, that Riley's not really can't speak. He's on the committee that decided unanimously they're not going to do it because there's no evidence attached. The form says it's optional. I was going to save my evidence for it. I didn't want to tip my hand, save my evidence for the meeting.
Right.
And they said, we're not going to look at it. We already have a driver's license, and he said he's voted in Alabama for 7 years. That's good enough for us. In the same sentence, John Wall, who has a Tennessee driver's license and voted in Tennessee, they say, well, no, having a driver's license doesn't really prove you don't live in Alabama. And it's like, I mean, my head hurts. Right. They're in on it, and you're about to find out. Don't leave. You're about to find out some really strange stuff. This election is going to boil down to freedom versus oppression.
Right.
And oppression in the Alabama Constitution, Article 1, Section 35 of the Alabama Constitution. Now, constitutions, the people have the power. We've forgotten because they don't teach civics in school anymore by design, but they've forgotten that they have the power. Article 1, Section 35 of our Constitution says, and this is how people empower the government. Only the people can change the Constitution, and the people empower the government, not the other way around. This is what we, the people, have said what our government is limited to, that the sole object and only legitimate end of government is to protect the citizen in the enjoyment of life, liberty, and property. And when the government assumes other functions, it is usurpation and oppression. Usurpation is the illegal taking of authority that's not granted to you. So and I want to put this at the entrance of every building on a big plaque or a big monument at the entrance to every building of the new Capitol building the building that's going to house the legislature down in Montgomery. New State House building, right? Yeah. To remind them this is what the people of Alabama have empowered you with. No more. And it's insane what government has become, and it's breaking our Constitution. It's unconstitutional.
Well, and I think just when you look at some of the possible laws that are being talked about in Montgomery, even for this session, we waste our time on so many just ridiculous things.
Right.
Like the fact, do we want to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America?
Right.
You know, we're talking about that sort of thing. Or we're making a law about slap fighting. that
Right.
we don't need, you know, those kind of things.
I mean, and helmet laws, and I mean,
Right.
and, you know, people have asked me what my opinion is on marijuana, and my opinion, I mean, if the people I talk to, half the people are against it, thinks it's the worst thing ever, it's destroying our children, and the other half think it's God's gift to mankind. It's medically great. It has all kinds of benefits for medical reasons. And I'm not taking a position one way or the other. I admire the ladies that are out there that are trying to keep kids off drugs. I think that's a noble and wonderful cause. Drugs are really horrible. But if you just Article 1, Section 35 of our Constitution, that the only legitimate end of government is to protect the citizen in the enjoyment of life, liberty, and property, what part of that gives them the power to regulate that?
Right.
If a 45-year-old man wants to smoke a joint in the privacy of his own home, where does the government come into that? We have not given the government the authority to regulate that for us.
Right.
And we haven't. So, I mean, and like I said, I'm not taking a position if it's good or it's bad. I'm taking a position, is it constitutional or it's not?
And I certainly admire that, because I think, and now if you have to sit down and try to read the Alabama Constitution, it'll take you a couple of years.
Right. Well, just keep focusing on Article 1, Section 35, because
Right.
that is what we've empowered government with.
Right.
And they're using usurpation and oppression against we the people.
Well, and I totally agree with what you said earlier. If you can't trust someone's word, especially a leader in our state, a politician, if you can't trust their word, what can you trust? And
right.
you can't believe anything that they say.
No, and I've challenged him. I challenge his manhood, but it's going to come out eventually. I'm in the process of filing a suit, and I don't know why he's trying to destroy the Republican Party, because he's making the Republican Party look so bad. Call your senators and your representatives and anyone you know in the Republican Party and say, guys, look into this. He doesn't live in, everyone knows he doesn't live in
Right,
Alabama. With a wink and a nod, yeah, we know he lives in Florida, but he owns a house here, so that's okay.
Because that was
No,
even the
it's not.
case when he ran for Senate. Everybody knew that he didn't live here.
But it didn't matter in the Senate.
Right.
Now it matters. Our Constitution, because our founding fathers did not want carpetbaggers to come here and take over, and I'm about to talk about
That's
what
what's
he's about to
happening,
do.
I think, yeah.
Right. It's unbelievable. That's what got me into this. I am so tired of losing freedoms. I want to be free. So I'm an avid reader. I love constitutional stuff. I love reading about our founding fathers. And I've researched we need to do 3 things to be free, because I'm tired of not being free and losing my freedoms. I won't even fly anymore because of the Patriot Act.
Right.
And if you look at it, the Republicans control the presidency, the Senate, and the House. And why isn't the Patriot Act being repealed? I don't understand that. But we're about to find out on Tommy Tuberville, and he's a Trojan horse for what's really going on. But there's 3 things you need to be free. You have to be food independent. Alabama has to be able to feed itself. If you can't feed yourself, you're not free. If you look throughout history, hundreds of millions of people have been killed when they relied on the elites and their government for their food. You cannot do that. That's the definition of freedom, is being able to feed yourself. Number 2 is we have to take education back. This is not conspiracy. Google how Rockefeller took over the educational system. Our educational system is designed not to educate us. Our educational system is designed to make people remember what they're told and do what they're told. Memorization and compliance. And
there's a lot of conformity in our education system.
100%.
And
Right.
the creativity has been just exited out in a lot of places.
100%. They don't want they don't want critical thinkers. They want
Right.
complicit workers.
Right.
And if you look at it though, and then so education's number 2, and they don't want what is it? Thomas Jefferson said, an ignorant country and a free country is what never was and never will be. The ignorant will be slaves always. That's why our educational system is keeping us stupid. And then if you go on, the greatest thinkers in life say the key to a successful life and a free people is virtue. A virtuous people are the only people that can be free. We have to teach virtue. And Ben Franklin had a course that he designed when he was 18 years old, and he did it for the majority of his entire life, a very simple program that made virtue habitual. He called it habitude. And he invented it or created it on the way when he was 18 years old sailing back from England. And he wrote 13 virtues, and then he would take the first one, and at the end of every day, for a week, he'd say, did I live up to that? And where did I miss on that, or where did I not miss on that? The second week, he'd start on number 2, and he'd do it for a week, and after 13 weeks, he would start all over. And he did this for his entire life. And the virtues are temperance, and temperance means sobriety. Don't drink to elation, don't eat to excess. Order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, and humility. And if we can teach these virtues to our children, we are free. And companies from all over the world will be falling all over themselves to come here to hire our virtuous kids. Just take the frugality and industry. If you teach a kid to work hard and save his money, more than likely that kid's going to have a pretty good life, and his children are going to have a good life. And that's just 2 of them. That needs to be taught in school, 1 hour a day, every time, every year a kid's in school. And if you go to jail, this is part of your probation, the 13 virtues. And virtuous people are the only way to get free. And number 3, on freedom, we have to be healthy. Our medical system was taken over. Google how Rockefeller took over the medical system. Same with education. And I just said schools are taught to memorize what you're told and do what you're told. If you do that and you excel at school in that system, what's the first thing, if you're one of the smartest kids in the class at memorizing what you're told and doing what you're told, where do you go? Medical school.
That's right.
100%. And the curriculum and the schools are controlled by the Rockefellers. And I contend that's why we've lived through medical tyranny for the last 5 years, and they used the medical industry to tyrannize. I mean, they shut down our businesses, our homes. We couldn't meet. They shut down our churches, kept abortion clinics and state stores open. Everything else they shut down, and doctors didn't speak out because they memorize what they're told and they do what they're told. We have to rethink medicine, get back nutrition into medicine, and everybody knows this. You're your own worst enemy.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm not going to Washington. We have to bring freedoms back to the people of Alabama. Washington's it's a basket case, and so are the globalists. But we can do something on the state level if we stop Tommy Tuberville and what he's about to introduce to Alabama, and what the Republicans, House, Senate, and the Senate, the House, and the presidency are trying to bring to Alabama. It's insane.
Right. Well, and it's something that has grown. We've seen this movement grow over the last 20, 30 years.
Right.
It started, and it's just gotten so much worse at the national level. And now we're starting to see it creep into the state. It's already in the state, really.
100%.
And then creeping even into local elections and local politics. I feel like it's just a poison that's taken over.
Yeah, I don't understand if Tommy Tuberville, if you look at what's happening, and you're seeing it's all over the news right now. There's a big thing on the data centers and on the solar farm down in Mobile that are going to power the data center, the big data center in Bessemer, and there's data centers down in. They're all over the state right now. Folks, they're not data centers. They are not data centers. Repeat, they are not data centers.
I worked at a data center before, and I can tell you these things are not. I worked at a data center for Bell South.
Right.
And it was a data center.
Right.
This is not.
No, they are totalitarian surveillance state systems being installed, and that's why Tommy Tuberville is being anointed as our next governor. They're being installed totalitarian surveillance centers. That's what they are, run by the state. They're going to run software that's military and intelligence agency software, AI surveillance software that was designed to be used against our enemies. You funded these things to be used against our enemies, to be used against the American people and the people of Alabama. They're doing that, and Tommy Tuberville is charged with ushering that into Alabama, not data centers. Do not call them data centers. That's a diversion. They're totalitarian surveillance systems designed to be used against the people of Alabama to surveil every single thing we have. And he's designed, and call him up and ask him, are you going to veto any First Amendment hate speech laws that are being tried, that he's going to get tried to get passed in Alabama? He wants to do away with your First Amendment rights and bring in totalitarian surveillance systems, these centers, against the people of Alabama. I want freedom. He wants oppression. That's your choice in this upcoming election. But see, and that's another thing. We can't wait to the election. It's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be elected. And how many people listening actually trust our voting machines?
Right.
How many people trust the 2020 election? I mean, so we can actually beat them if we can get Tupperville to prove he will not release the information.
Right.
So, I mean, because he can't. If he releases the information, his credit card records, his utility bills, his tax returns, if he releases this, it'll prove he doesn't live in Alabama, so he won't. So they're going to rely on the system to make sure he's elected. But if we get him off the ticket, if you call your senators and representatives and people you know in the Republican Party, say, guys, what are you doing? Why are you supporting a guy that's going to bring in totalitarian surveillance systems and do away with our First Amendment rights with hate speech laws? We don't want that. And he doesn't live in Alabama. Kick him off our ticket. That leaves me sitting in the driver's seat and a road to freedom. I mean,
Right.
That's all I'm running for. And my mentor in politics was a guy named Joe Fuller. On I-22 Corridor X, there's a bridge just past here a little bit. It says the Joe E. Fuller Bridge. Do you remember? Do you know that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
He was my political mentor. He was in the insurance business too, and we worked on our state's association on the legislative committee. He years ago said, and they were going to build I-22 to go from Memphis to Huntsville and then Huntsville to Atlanta. And Joe said, no, Birmingham is the center of commerce in Alabama. We're going to take that road and bring it from Memphis to Birmingham. That's why his name's on it.
Right.
That project was hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know the dollar figure. I'm just assuming that's a big, long road.
It took a long time, too.
Right, it took a long time, but now it's beautiful.
Right.
The ride up was absolutely beautiful. He brought that because it was the right thing to do to bring the Midwest into and through Birmingham rather than go to Huntsville before you go to Atlanta.
Right.
He didn't make one dime off of that. He did it because it was the best for the people in Alabama. That's where I am. I want my freedom. I'm not in this for, I'm not, and that's what, I don't want to start a fight with the establishment. We need the establishment to get our freedoms back. I don't have my own building contractors. I don't have my own bridge builders. I don't have my own road builders that are giving me $100,000 checks, unlike my opponent, and trying to make money off of this. I want freedom. That's my only motivation.
Well, and talk to our audience a little bit about the you had mentioned what supposed data centers. Using that information, they're able to see every person, everywhere they go, anything they're doing. Like they are, you talk about
everything.
Big Brother watching. This
Everything.
is all about Big Brother
Right.
watching.
And that's why he's being anointed as your next governor, our next governor. He's being anointed. He's not being, and he said it even when he announced. And this also proves he does it. When he announced he was not running, he announced, I will be your next governor.
Exactly.
And then in that same meeting, and listen to him now, he set up, he teed this, the totalitarian surveillance systems to be used in these centers. He teed it up in the Armed Services Committee, expanding the military's role to use this software against the American people. And then at that, where he announced he would be our next governor, and I think he got 10 checks for $100,000. He's raising more money than any other candidate. But anyhow, he said, and this is Republicans that are doing this, and he said, well, we got to get back up to Washington, D.C. and pass that big, beautiful bill. Well, that big, beautiful bill is paying for the totalitarian surveillance system to run AI, military and intelligence agency surveillance software against we, the people.
Right.
That's him.
Yeah. Our own people are being oppressed by what they're wanting to roll in.
Right. It's so insane. But we can beat this. Call your senators, your House members, and the politically connected people in the ALGOP and say, stop the nonsense. He's not eligible to run.
Right. Well, I want to remind everybody, we've got Ken McFeeters here. He's a Republican candidate for governor. We sure do appreciate him coming by this morning. We're going to take a quick break on Live at 9. And when we come back, I want to get a little bit more into your policies and how you want to bring those freedoms back. How about that?
Perfect.
All right. We'll be right back on Live at 9 with James Phillips here on WJLX. And we are back here on Live at 9 with James Phillips here on WJLX. I appreciate Mr. Ken McFeeters in today. He's a Republican candidate for governor. And you've heard a lot about him, I'm sure, if you've been on social media, as far as what we've talked about so far is his questioning of the residency of Tommy Tuberville. But there's so much more about Mr. McFeeters that I want you to share to let people know what you're all about. Because everybody knows about, well, honestly, we don't know much about the coach.
Right.
We know the name.
Right. That's it.
But your name, you don't have that name recognition yet. So
there's a reason for that.
Right.
There's the biggest political, and it's the establishment news outlet in Alabama. It starts with 18. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know if I would actually call them a news agency.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I've been the only other, and everyone said, well, we don't know what you stand for, Ken. We don't know what you stand for. I'm the only other declared candidate in Alabama for 9 months, and then one guy signed up just recently.
Right.
And I don't know how. Hopefully, he is serious, but I haven't seen a whole lot about him. But I've been the only other declared candidate for 9 months. That news outlet and a lot of others has not mentioned my name. Not one time mentioned my name. Never mind what my platform is. Never what I stand for. Never mind I'm for freedom versus oppression. Never mind I believe in the Constitution. Has not mentioned my name. And they did mention it one time, but if you go to their search engine and search my name, you won't find it. One article from 3 or 4 years ago.
Gotcha.
They won't. But they did allow a guy down in Mobile. They gave Tommy Tuberville $100,000 to say, because I brought up a little newscast and mentioned him, and he threatened to sue me. And then he said, I can't wait till Tommy Tuberville throat stomps him in the election.
Wow.
And that's the only time I would, and if you go there and Google it, it won't pop up.
Right.
But I mean, that's the only, and it's like, why is the establishment media so behind Tuberville? I mean, and why is the ALGOP so behind it? It's like, why are they trying to bring a totalitarian surveillance centers to Alabama? I mean, Republicans are the good guys. I mean, as much as I'm complaining about Republicans, and they say, well, you're destroying the Republican Party. I'm trying to save the Republican Party. I mean, I've looked at some of the past chairs of the Republican Party. The Republican Party's not always been like this.
No, it hasn't.
There's some strange and odd things going on.
And we already know the Democratic Party in Alabama is on life support, and now I think the Republican Party is as well. Where does that leave us?
I mean, right, it's like as much as I complain about the Republicans, the Democrats are worse. And then the people have to remind, the people have the power. Guys, call your representatives that you know with the party, call your folks that you know politically and say, kick them off the ticket, and our problems are solved. We'll have a guy in there that's going to try to work for the power, our freedoms.
Right.
That's what we have to have. If we're free and we have a virtuous populace, and it's only going to take a few years. If you start teaching kids 1 hour a day, every day, Ben Franklin's 13 virtues, we'll have virtuous kids that can actually are critical thinkers. And like I said, our economy will explode. And why are they scared of this? I don't understand. And like I said, I'm not taking on the establishment. I know there's only a few guys that can build roads. That, how many us listening, including me, can build a road from Montgomery to from Birmingham to Memphis?
Right.
Not many. There's only a couple of guys in Alabama can do that. I'm not trying to take your job away from you. So it's like that's not my intention. I just want to get the people that work for you to be virtuous and free, because only the virtuous can be free.
Well, and just from this little bit of a conversation that we've had, I can tell that you can at least carry on a conversation without getting mad at someone or calling somebody a name.
No.
And I can't tell you that about your opponent.
No, exactly. He wants division.
Right.
He wants us divided so they can rule, and that's who he's working for, the people behind that.
And he hangs out with people who want you to be stomped on the throat.
Exactly.
Seems a little.
They can write him a $100,000 check.
Right.
Throat stomping. It's
Yeah.
like, that's kind of harsh.
That is a little harsh.
It's like, and all I want to do is, the free, to be Alabama to free, because I want my freedoms.
Yeah.
And the only way I can be free is if Alabama becomes virtuous and free and healthy. And it's like, and food independent, not dependent. Like I said, they've killed hundreds of millions of people. Look at Russia, look at China. They've killed hundreds of millions of people on people that relied on government and the elites for their food.
Right. That's true.
And our federal government is the reason that we have food, that we are food dependent.
Well, and even if we look back just a few months ago, what was it that got cut? It was the government-funded
Right.
food program
Of course,
got cut.
right,
And that's the one thing that should never be cut.
100%. Don't rely on the government for your food. We got to get our farms growing. And one of the first, when I'm elected governor, and honest to God, I really believe I will be, there's going to be a garden behind the governor's mansion.
Oh, that would be
It's like,
outstanding.
and kids come in, and and it's like there'll be a garden back. We have to start growing our food. We can't be dependent on the elites, nor the federal government, nor the state government for our food.
The thing that gets me about people voting for the elites at this point, Alabama is a hardworking state.
100%.
It has always been anti-establishment.
Right.
We don't want people telling us what to do.
No,
But it seems like we're now going along the lines of more government when the Republican Party has always been less government.
but then that's why they're installing. I mean, no one's ever accused Tupperville, my opponent, of being, never mind a genius, even being smart.
Right.
Why are they putting $20 million, all the media, all that, behind a guy that's never been accused of being smart? I'm not saying he's not smart.
Right.
No, he's affable. He's got name recognition, but he's never been accused of being smart or brilliant. Why are they doing this? Unless there's an ulterior motive, and that's to usher in the totalitarian surveillance centers that's going to use military and intelligence agency software against the people of Alabama. And monitor everything: your social media posts, your banks, your doctor visits, and using facial recognition software every time you leave your house. The camera's on every single road, and they're going to tell you, we're going to use that so we can monitor the illegals. And that's such nonsense and BS, because if you look, what Musk, when he did the Doge, and he exposed USAID, USAID, that gave all the money to NGOs, non-government organizations,
Right.
that not only funded but orchestrated the mass immigration of illegals from south of the border. Our government's paid for it, and now they're going to usher in this totalitarian surveillance things to say, well, we're trying to protect you. No, they're not.
They're trying to watch you.
They're trying to watch you, and they want to control you.
Right.
That's what Tommy Tupperville is being charged with to do, and to do away with our First Amendment rights. Call his office, ask him if he's going to pass, or if he's going to veto. I will right now veto any of First Amendment infringements. If you want to bring hate speech laws to Alabama, and it's passed in 22 other states, including DeSantis signed it in Florida, I will veto it, not sign it. I will fight you to the end with it.
Yeah.
That's my line. You cannot take our First Amendment rights. You're not taking any more of our freedoms.
Well, and I know you said earlier that your main reason for getting into this race was to fight for our freedoms. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just your background, and other reasons why you're doing this, because it's a thankless job to be governor for sure.
Oh God, then half the people are going to hate you.
Right.
And it's kind of like, but I mean, and I pray every night. I mean, I don't know what other people's religious beliefs are or whatever, but I don't know even if prayer helps, but it helps me.
Right.
And I always say, well, no one knows more about religion than you do, because religion's such a personal thing, and I don't want to be told about religion by anyone else, and I'm not going to tell anyone about religion by anyone else.
That's how I am with I don't want my schools teaching my kids the religion.
Right.
That's
right.
not the point.
No, right. Because, like I say, it's a parent's job and the
Right.
church's job or whatever.
And I could care less if the 10 Commandments are in the school.
Right. I mean, that's the parent's job.
Right.
Now, I think the schools should teach virtue, and
Exactly.
Ben Franklin designed.
I do agree with that.
And he designed the program where it would not offend any sect or religion. So the Democrats can't all of a sudden jump up. No, that's teaching. No, it's not. It's teaching virtue.
Right.
There's a big difference.
Right.
But prayer helps me, and excuse me. And when I'm asking me about me, when I'm saying my prayers at night, there's a thing I ask: please let the people hear in my voice, look in my eye, look in my heart, look in my soul, to see that I'm sincere. And then I was asked the other day, he goes, well, what's going to happen when you get all that power? It's like, I don't have the power. The people have the power. But nonetheless, and when I always say the Lord's Prayer, I said, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And I always kind of smile when I'm saying that. It's like, I know it's coming, Lord, or Father, it's like, I know it's coming.
Right.
Please, deliver us from evil.
Well, Jesus' biggest temptation was the devil offered him everything.
Right.
So that's what happens once you're in politics and gain a little power.
Exactly. And I don't want that.
And so you've been in business now, we talked about, for 44 years with an insurance agency that
Yes.
has grown.
Right.
It shows us that you know how to operate a business. You know how to stay in business. What can you speak to that over?
I mean, that's why I love America. And then, and I got involved in politics through my association when the Montgomery did some things to my industry that almost put us out of business. And then I also saw where the state government and the federal government shut down our businesses, or tried to shut down our business. And then we got some idiotic pass that we were, quote unquote, vital, or what was it, necessary or something, from the Alabama Insurance Department, of all places.
Right.
The federal government and the state government said the Alabama Insurance Department, that's charged with making your rates, and companies have to get the rates approval, to give us permission, and we had to have a permission slip from the Alabama Insurance Department that has no clue about this, that we had to have something from them saying it's okay to go to work because my business is necessary, or I forget what the term was.
Right.
And it's like, I was so furious with all this. It's like, no, you guys have stepped too far. It's time. And then I ran for Congress a couple of years ago or whatever, and then because I wanted to tell the truth. Knew I wouldn't win. I wanted to tell the truth of what was really going on in Washington, and why aren't we doing something about it, because they're in on it. And it's like, so the only thing we can do is freedom is local and government is local. And on a state level, if you got a governor in there that's trying to get our freedoms back and working on the people's freedoms, that's where we can do it. And if we get our kids educated, we get food independent, and we get healthy and take our medicine back. And everyone's talking, well, what about expanding Medicare? Why do you want to expand a system that is completely screwed up, top to bottom, intentionally, and it's been intentionally turned into a profit business, not about healing people? And our monetary policy in Washington, D.C., and I talked about this when I was running for Congress, is the reason our healthcare system's so screwed up. If three companies, which are really one company, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, and really one company, they own controlling interest in 95%. Understand this, they own controlling interest in 95% of our publicly traded companies. That means they control all the publicly traded companies. That means they control our food supply that are making us sick. Our food supply, make no mistake, are making us sick.
Definitely so.
And they also own the companies that are treating us for the illness that the food companies are making us sick. They have these that are treating us, not curing us, treating us. This has to be rethunk. I mean, we have to rethink this. We cannot continue that down this road. When we become food independent, everyone's going to get healthier, and we won't have to be treated. And like I said, look at Rockefeller and how he took over the medical schools, shut down, I think he shut down half the medical schools that didn't teach allopathic, which was his form of medicine. And we've had great strides and surgeries, some good, fantastic drugs, but the majority of it is not. We're unhealthier now than we have ever been throughout our history, and it's by design. And so we have to fix this.
And how do we fix it?
Well, like I said, when we get the food independence back, start growing gardens and eating right.
I honestly think the food independence is a huge, huge thing
massive.
that people do not think about.
No.
But everything that you put in your body causes some sort of reaction.
Right.
And we're putting in just terrible food.
Terrible.
You know.
And it's all owned by the same people that are treating us for treating us for the illnesses we're getting.
And in our country, if you look at your labels, which I have to do for being diabetic and all the health issues I've had, there's hundreds of things listed. And if you're in
Europe or something,
there's like 3 items in most things.
And that's the way our food used to be.
Right.
And I mean, look when the tobacco industry was put out of business, or not out of business, when it kind of went down or whatever, they looked for another thing to take over. They took over our food companies. Right. And then they started adding addictive substances into our foods, just like into our tobacco. Tobacco in and of itself is not that bad for you.
Right.
It's all the stuff and additives that make it addictive. If you look at the Like everyone, when they quit smoking, I used to smoke. Best thing I ever did, I quit when I was 40. I used to smoke 2 packs a day. But if you look, every time you quit, you want sugar.
Right.
That's because they add sugar, so it's like inhaling crack. Sugar is probably one of the, not probably, it's the most addictive and abused substance on the planet. Most, not most, but a very large percentage, I think in some cigarettes, up to 20-some-odd% of a cigarette is sugar. So you're basically ingesting, like crack cocaine, sugar directly into your lungs.
Right.
And then try to quit. See how much sugar, see if you crave any sweets.
Then you're wanting a little Debbie cake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And same thing with alcohol. Alcohol is fermented sugar. It's not, and that's why if you give kids, your kids metabolize, and we metabolize sugar identical to alcohol, because alcohol is just fermented sugar. That's why they add sugar to everything. And why would you want to get your kid hooked on sugar? We got to rethink some things,
Right.
and rethink medicine. I mean, if we avoid being sick, we won't need to be treated.
Right.
And then that's also what really stinks about being 65. When I was 40, it's like, my health was a little bit, and it's like I decided to quit smoking. Bam, my health came back. And then I used to drink too much when I was a younger guy or whatever, and had a lot of fun or whatever. Then it's like, okay, well, my health's starting to decline. I better quit drinking. So I quit drinking for the most part. I'll have a glass of wine. I don't think I've had more than 1 glass of wine at a sitting in 12, 13 years.
Right.
But now I don't drink at all. And it's like, Mark Twain said, he goes, well, I'm getting to an age now, I don't have anything else to quit. So so now what happens?
All
You're
the
going to
vices
die.
are gone. Right. It's time to die.
It's time to die. It's like, well, Doc, what should I quit?
Right.
I'm host.
Breathing, right?
Exactly, right.
Well, we've only got a couple more minutes left. I want to give you an opportunity just to talk to the people, let them know why they need to come out. And if you want to question Tommy Tuberville's manhood again, I think that's always a good thing, too.
I mean, like I said, the only thing we have in this world is our word. And at the end of the day, that's all, and if people don't believe you, and even the people that are my friends, it's like I talked last night, they come over and play pool at my house or whatever, and then they're like, well, we know he doesn't live in Alabama. We know that.
Right.
Everyone knows that. And it's like, guys, it's the Constitution. And the very first thing the governor does, his very first duty, is being sworn in, and he's swearing to uphold Alabama's Constitution. And if you're skirting the Constitution to get there, and you're being helped by the Alabama Republican Party and the establishment to bring in a totalitarian surveillance state using military and industrial or an intelligence agency surveillance, AI surveillance software designed to be used against our enemies, turned on the American people, and you're going to take our First Amendment rights away with hate speech, no, we can't do this. Call your folks and tell them, no, stop them. Stop them from running now, because like I said, I don't think our voting machines are that trustworthy.
That's probably true, too.
So, I mean, and let's take our freedoms back. Let's get healthy. Let's get our kids virtuous. That's what freedom is. No one's talking about that.
Yeah.
Like I said, our schools want, they want idiots, because the ignorant is... Like I said, Thomas Jefferson said that an ignorant country and a free country is what never was and never will be. We can't be free if we're ignorant. We have to be virtuous, because only the virtuous can be free.
Where do people go to find out more about your campaign?
You can go to Ken, Ken, the number 4, so Ken4Gov, Gov.com, and there's a little link. You can make a donation if you want to help out on social media. But it's amazing. No one's giving me $20 million to run. Why? And if you look at Alexis de Tocqueville, he wrote Democracy in America in the 1800s, and he's been quoted by every president since. He said in his time in America, he was a Frenchman, in his time in America, the people knew not only did money not help you get elected, it was a hindrance, because the people knew it corrupted the politician. They knew that instinctively. Somehow we've been convinced now the candidate with all the money is the candidate to vote for. Guys, they're giving him $20 million to convince you with TV ads, billboards, and all that. They're giving him $20 million to convince you he's working for you and not the people that are giving him $20 million. I'm not getting $20 million. I want to be free. And the only way I can be free is if you're free. So start being free.
Start being free, folks. And I appreciate you coming by this morning. The only thing I hope that you do is that you'll promise once you're elected governor, you'll come back and we'll talk.
100%. Right. I mean, and that's what I'm really learning, who really is the true truth tellers in Alabama. It's not the media.
Right.
There's some media getting out there, and who the truth tellers are. Guarantee I'll be back every year.
That'll work. I appreciate that. Guys, thanks for listening this morning to Mr. Ken McFeeters. We'll be back tomorrow on Live at 9 a.m. And until then, be kind and love, and we'll see you tomorrow live at 9 with James Phillips on WJLX.